You're on.
Butler? No.
Session 16.
Session 16?
Yeah.
Right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihi al-kareem. Amma ba'd. We express our praise and gratitude to Allah Ta'ala. We seek blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So, قول معروف ومغفرة خير من صدقة يتبعها أذى. Wallahu ghaniyyun halim. So, this whole section right here, proceeding through the rest of the surah, we only have, mashallah, a little over 20 ayahs left. We'll be speaking about charity, we'll be speaking about the opposite of charity, which is riba, and within that, contracts, so meaning loans. So, what is the rest of the surah except for the last two ayahs? The rest of the surah, the focus is on what to do with your wealth. So, to put that into context, there's a really popular hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, which is a big hadith, but part of it speaks of three, if I remember correctly, types of people. There's the person who's been gifted with knowledge and wealth and acts upon that knowledge and wealth, and that person is in the best situation. You have four types of people. You have the person who's gifted with knowledge but no wealth, and has the attitude that, okay, if I had wealth, I'd be doing all these things that are in line with knowledge. By knowledge here, we're talking about ilm, knowledge of deen. Then you have the person who's given no knowledge but wealth, and that person just scatters the wealth and wastes it. And so that person is in the worst situation.
With no knowledge and wealth.
So knowledge plus wealth, knowledge but no wealth, no knowledge plus wealth. And then the person who has neither knowledge nor wealth, but has the intention that if I had either, I would do good with it. And so a principle to take from that is that the two most valuable things that you can have in terms of the time that Allah Ta'ala gives us on this earth is knowledge and wealth. Now, wealth here is not just money. Right? Time is part of your wealth. Your waqt is, in fact, more valuable than your wealth, because wealth comes and goes. It goes up and down. Time is literally a losing venture. Right? It's not like you can get time back. And as just an ethical principle, seriously consider that. This is something we get more conscious of as we get older and older, and the sense of mortality becomes greater and greater. But the basic point being that time, no matter what, is a losing venture. And we might have talked about that when we were speaking about Surah Al-Asr at some point. That with the swift passage of time, you're definitely in a state of loss. Except if you believe and do right, call others to truth, and call others to perseverance. And so, you've probably heard the narration either from me or from other people, Shribta Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, that you're a set number of days. That's basically what you are. That from your birth, you've been assigned, this is how many days you are. And each day, you lose one, like dominoes. And you can never get it back. But wealth, in contrast, today I can be broke, and in a while I can be overflowing. And by wealth here, I'm speaking of money. I can be overflowing in wealth, and then the next day after that, I have a little bit less. The next day after that, I have a little more. Right? Wealth comes and goes. It goes up and down. Time just goes down. So the person who has knowledge is then making use of his or her wealth properly. The person who has knowledge but no wealth, the person who has knowledge but no wealth would be making use, so at least that person has the intentions. But the person who has wealth and has no knowledge is the equivalent of someone who has all kinds of idle time and is doing nothing with it, except just wasting the time. But I also think the last point is fascinating. The person who has neither knowledge nor wealth, that person could have been spoken of as someone who's in the worst pathetic situation, but we also have this notion that innately you have fitrah. And so you have the consciousness that such a person, if they were given these things, would have made beneficial use of them. So what I'm saying is that a way to philosophically read this final stretch of the surah is saying that, all right, when all is said and done, here's what you're given, and here are the ways you can make use of your time. Correct. So kind speech and forgiveness are better than charity, followed by injury. So intuitively we understand this principle. We spoke about this idea of ma'ruf in this last part of the surah, that when you're conducting yourself, especially in stressful matters, you should conduct yourself properly. Every culture has notions of this is good, proper behavior. And so what we're saying here is that if you are giving charity, then you should never make it a reminder to people. Okay, this we touched on previously. Because if someone's coming to you with, if you're giving someone charity, then you're basically addressing a need. And that automatically creates a power relationship. And so if you're giving someone some charity, the ideal way, as you and I know, is to keep it as quiet as possible. But if you're reminding them of it, you're not making it a service to them. You're putting them subservient to you. And that's very, very bad. It's better that you just say something nice and you forgive. I think this is pretty heavy if you think about this. See what it's saying? That if you're going to give someone charity and then remind them about your charity, or if you're going to give someone charity and then hurt them for it, it's better that you don't give them any charity in the first place, right? And so we're speaking about someone who's in a position of need.
Let's get settled in.
Yeah, I think that. So, one point I haven't really emphasized in the course of all these discussions is the use of the attributes of Allah Ta'ala. And part of it is because we don't see it as much in this surah. But here we can actually introduce this idea that you'll find many times in the surahs or in the ayahs will end with some sort of attributes of Allah Ta'ala, right? So here Allah is Ghani and Halim. So Ghani is often translated as rich, but more accurately is more like self-sufficient or lack of need. See the difference between rich versus lack of need?
Rich
263.
versus lack of need.
So rich means you have so much wealth.
Yeah.
But the focus in saying Ghani is the lack of need. Mughni is the one who puts people in a situation where they have lack of need. Right? So the point is that if I am giving people charity, okay, what should I take from the fact that these attributes of Allah are being mentioned? That I am not enriching someone. And Halim, forbearing. Is there a simpler word than forbearing?
I think it's contentment, isn't it? Hadim?
It's kind of like, you're just letting go. I mean, letting go in the sense, okay, someone does something, you're just letting it go, right? This is the idea of Hadim, right? Of course, whenever we hear Hadim.
I know, it's like full and like bloated.
Gracious. I mean, even gracious is probably.
Like ingratiating might be, but like the idea being that Hilm is this attitude that it's like, someone does something wrong or there's an imperfection or there's a flaw, it's just, don't worry about it, forget about it. That's the attitude. Yeah, like that. Yeah. And so the point is that it's easy to fall into the trap that when I'm giving someone something that I'm doing them a favor. And that's what I don't want to fall into. That when I am giving to someone, part of it is that I should look at it as though, okay, this is wealth that is not mine as much as that Allah Ta'ala has entrusted it to me. And that's one of those things that we often hear in Jummah khutbahs and everything, but really try to embody that. The wealth that I have is a trust. That also includes my children. My children are something that are entrusted to me. The trap that's easy to fall into is that they are sources of my vanity. You know, when my child does really well, it's a great statement on me. When I have wealth, it's a great statement about me, right? And the approach I want to take is that these are entrusted to me, which means that I have responsibility. But yeah, I do find this ayah fascinating, that if you're going to give someone something and then you're going to hurt them, right, you're going to cause them difficulty for it, then it's better not to even give them anything. Mm-hmm. Right? And looking at it from the perspective of someone who's in need, that you're hurting them more by giving them and then injuring them. It's better just to speak nicely and just forgive.
What about giving to someone and maybe use it for something?
So, I mean, I was even reflecting on this because we kind of introduced this question last class, and I mean, my view is still that if you have like a real concern that they're going to do something, like, for example, all right, someone comes to you and they smell like alcohol, right, and they're asking for money, that's one thing. But I think Amin or someone was mentioning this person who is always on a corner here somewhere, and she has a sign, and she's apparently been around for like a couple of years. Even in those cases, my personal thought is, you know, I am not losing anything by giving to them, and I'm gaining by giving to them. And my focus on them might distract me from actually looking at the bigger concerns in society. If I'm much more concerned for various reasons, like this is a person in my neighborhood who's been doing such and such, there's that ayah, I don't remember if we looked at it last time, but let's look at it today. Surah 4, Surah An-Nisa, ayah 5. But here, yeah, I think we did look at it because I remember someone mentioned something about Surah last time.
Surah 4, ayah 5?
Surah 4, ayah 5. وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفَهَاءَ. So don't give to the sufaha amwalakum, your wealth, الَّتِي جَعَلَ لَكُمْ, the one that Allah has made for you, وَرَزُقُهُمْ. That's interesting. Okay, as sustenance for you. So don't give the fools of your wealth, which Allah has made as sustenance for you, but provide for them with it, clothe them, and speak to them words of appropriate kindness. So the point is that if you do have real reason that someone is going to be misusing the wealth, at the very least, look at it from the perspective that they're not malicious. I mean, there are rings of people who are professional panhandlers. Like, I think we talked about this at Hajj, right? That there are people who, they descend on Hajj as a way to just cash in. And I think I mentioned the point, I met a guy at a masjid who said, he was probably in his mid-20s, who said very openly that he makes much more money panhandling than by trying to get a job. I mean, he was homeless, and he still felt that his life was much easier than getting a job just by going around begging for people. In fact, okay, remind me that hadith also talks about people who are begging. So my thought is that if you have real reason, then for your own sake, don't look at them as malicious, but look at them as incapable of keeping their wealth. Right? And if you do have real reason for that, then give them something else. At the very least, say something nice, but give them food or clothing. But the point is that you are not gaining a sin if you give them wealth and they use it for the wrong deed. Then the day, it really comes down to how much time do you want to spend on them. If your whole interaction with them is that those 2 minutes, then for me, in general, it seems like, you know, whatever small amount of cash you're gonna give them, that's far more better. Any thoughts? What do you think, Imani?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I never thought about it as, there's nothing on you if you guys really need something else.
You know, if someone says, yeah, I need some money for beer, you're like, oh, here, please use this for food. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, I feel
no
like
one ever says-
I'm waiting for the bus and someone comes and asks me
Uh-huh.
for money and, you know, like, who am I to judge what they're gonna use it for?
So, that just reminded me, was it yesterday, 2 days ago? For whatever reason, I wound up spending a lot of time with these oases on the highways. And so I was at one, I feel like it was yesterday, but in any case, I was cleaning out all this trash from my car, and I see this dude in sunglasses standing, and I thought it was strange that he's just standing there, like, leaning against the wall, and it's cold outside. And I glance at him, because that's what I like to do, because I'm from the south side, and that's what we do to people, to get them to turn away. And I saw him look away, so like he was clearly staring at me. And then I go in my car, and then suddenly he's walking by, he looks at me, he goes, hey, you know, so I'm like, yeah. He goes, and he has this accent, he's like, hey, big man, I need your help. Right? He keeps calling me big man, which I thought was that's kind of cute. Like, hey, big man, like I'm here with my family, we're trying to go to Kentucky, and I've run out of gas, and I need some money. Can you help me, big man? What'd you guys have done in that scenario?
They don't have money.
That's basically what I did.
You like not have any money?
Well, what did you do?
So I gave him money. Right.
Isn't there an ATM?
Could be. I mean, I could have very easily gotten out of my car. And,
Oh, gee.
you know, he said his family is sitting inside the Oasis, and I could have walked up to his family to find out. Right. He himself was a big man, which I thought was kind of funny too. It was calling me big man. But I really, in that moment, I didn't have any interest in investing more than 30 seconds in him. I said, okay, shall clear. Right. Maybe he used it for something else. But I hope, inshallah, that, you know, that he was able to get home.
It's here. That's fine.
That's all. He had sunglasses, so I couldn't really like look at his eyes. Not that I don't know if that would have actually told me anything. I should have said, "This is coming to you from Allah." Right. Yeah. So yeah, that is a dilemma. But like I said, I think just for the condition of our own hearts, even if there are people who are malicious, is not to assume maliciousness. Yeah. But the key thing is, I should not assume that I'm doing someone a favor. That I should assume, okay, Allah Ta'ala has opened up this opportunity for me. How do I respond?
Omer?
Yes.
Has a question.
Oh, I like. D.
Actually, you know, the episode you just described, I have experienced it myself. I am here from Virginia,
Oh, what part of
It's like
Virginia?
Omani.
Northern Virginia.
It's like Omani.
This is muy Omani.
I feel like that.
Okay, mashallah, mashallah.
So I left the mosque after Isha prayers, and it was unusual. There were cars there, but there weren't many people. And as I walked to the car, I usually don't take my purse with me. I just have a bag with the Quran. So I took my purse out because I was going to stop at the gas station. And this guy walks over to me and asked me for money. He said the same thing. I've run out of gas. I'm a student in Baltimore, and I need money to get gas. So I said, well, drive over to the gas station and I'll get gas for you.
Yeah.
And he said, no, my car is not drivable. So I said, well, I don't have my wallet with me.
Yeah.
And I was feeling very uneasy.
Yeah, yeah.
So he said, are you going to give me money or should I go to somebody else? I said, please go to someone
Good.
else.
Yeah.
So I sat in the car and I shut the door, and he came, you know, and here I'm looking at my purse on the seat, and
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, I lied to him that I didn't have my wallet.
Okay.
So, he came right back and he was in the window right in the base. He said, "Can you give me $2?" And at that time I said, I gave him, I had some change there, I didn't take my wallet out,
Uh-huh.
I had some, and I gave it to him and I drove around and he was at his car. So, I left. And just a few seconds after I left, I said I should go back because as I drove around, there were men standing on the other side. And just to say that he needs help.
Yeah.
It must have been hardly 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and when I went back, he was not there.
Huh.
He was gone. So in that case, I was wondering, the money that you give what is it? Is it considered helping out somebody needy, or, that was the question I was trying to
Yeah,
ask.
I mean, I think your primary concern was for your safety, right? And even if your intention was to give this person money just for your own safety, then that's a good intention. I mean, part of the reason, okay, that I stare at people is basically, just whatever minuscule psychological thing, saying, okay, I'm giving you my dirty look, so you think twice before trying anything, right? And so I should say, okay, one thing, if someone's coming to you to ask for wealth, you're not under any obligation to give. Okay? Even if you have an extra $1 trillion, you're not under any obligation, right? I mean, the only obligation you have is zakat, right? So sadaqah is more free points.
No, I mean, I
Yeah.
do at the mosque.
Yeah, I mean,
But even somebody, if they ask me, there have been, some women saying they need help and all that, but, whether their story is genuine, that's between them and God.
Yeah, exactly,
You
yeah.
give it. But in this case with this person, yes, it was safety that I felt
Yeah.
I should.
inshallah, you'll still be rewarded accordingly. But I'm saying you're definitely not going to be punished, inshallah, for that.
No.
Right. But yeah, I think that is also a concern that as much as I'm saying we should not assume malice, we should also not behave naively. That there are people who are targeting, and so if someone sees me and they see you, they're probably going to go to you. Right. That's what I'd like to think. Maybe I look more, what's the word, gullible or something like that. But the point is that, yeah, we should also definitely not. There are scholars who even say that it's a virtue to be not skeptical, but
Cautious.
Yeah, cautious is probably the best word. Right. As
And
opposed to being
actually, I
naive.
did call the mosque the next day to let them know.
Yeah.
Because I thought other women should know,
Mhm.
Absolutely. And they said you should have reported. And I didn't know, reported.
I don't know what
to
you
who.
mean. Yeah. For something like that, even if you're to call the police are probably
No,
still
I
ready
was
to waste their
not,
time,
yeah.
unless it's a small town. There are some masjids in Chicago where they say openly, okay, there are people who are outside. If they're asking for money, send them inside. I've seen it a couple times at downtown Islamic Center. I've seen it a couple times at IFS. I mean, the local masjids, where there is someone who seems to be stationed out there with a big sign, my family needs such and such and such and such. And the masjid people have announced, tell them to come inside. Right. So, at that time, sometimes it's important to be shrewd in our thinking. And there are definitely rings of people who are looking for, who know about zakat. I remember my father used to get calls all the time from people who are saying, I need some zakat. Right? Give me zakat. And in that case, I don't know how many of those people were actually in need, considering that they were able to track down my father's phone number. So they had some abilities. So. But still, having said all that, as a default, my first suggestion is just to not assume malice, but it doesn't mean we should override our safety. Okay, so continuing the point, ayah 264, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tubtilu sadaqatikum بالمن. So don't invalidate your sadaqah with reminders والأذى, as well as injury. Okay. This, I actually received a call from a student of mine who felt that he was doing this. He himself is paying his way through his grad school, professional school, and he is also providing for his family. And his family, his parents are normal parents in the sense that they yell at him to clean his room, they yell at him to do this, do that, and then he finds himself wanting to remind them that I'm the one who's keeping the house in order. Why are you guys giving me grief about all this? And so this ayah concerns him that when he does even slightly raise his voice to his parents, is he invalidating all the service he's doing to them? What do you think? Do not invalidate your charities with reminders or injury.
Parental ads are tough. You know, you got to be careful. I guess you just, we want to protect us all.
Yes, ma'am.
I also heard that, like, if you're doing a good thing for someone, if you even say, like, oh, I did this good thing for you, then it's not actually, like, a good act anymore, because you're kind of, like, showing off.
Okay. So you're saying that all of the effort he's putting in, like working, so he's a student and he's working to provide for his family. If he gives his mom a dirty look, is it wipe it all away? What do you think? That's his concern. And I told him to watch some Zayd Ali videos. to help cope. Yeah. Funny thing is, he's Arab, so I don't know how much he'll get from the Zayd Ali videos. But, yeah. So, but the point here is when I'm giving charity, I should really take it as a sacred trust. It's easy to fall into the notion that, okay, charity is basically I'm taking all my scrap change, you know, my excess change, and then just cleaning it out of my system. But look at it as a sacred trust. Sacred trust also doesn't mean don't look at it in such a way that you make it difficult for yourself. I remember one guy who was teaching everyone that before you're going to give anyone charity, you have to say Durud Ibrahim 3 times, and then give it, and then say Durud 3 more times, right? The whole Allahumma salli ala Muhammad 3 times, and then bam. And the response to that was that, okay, then no one's going to give charity anymore, right? If you're going to make it so difficult. Right? Why is it so important to look at charity as a sacred trust?
When you say sacred trust, explain that. Sacred
Yeah,
trust.
I'm trying to think of a proper way, because I'm trying to say amanat,
Okay.
right? That what I'm saying is that it's perfectly fine to be casual in giving charity, but understand that you are doing something serious.
Okay.
And when you're doing something serious, there's a certain type of adab or responsibility that goes along with that. Here, what's being mentioned, okay, don't remind people about what you've given them. Okay? Definitely don't hurt people because of what you've given them. Okay? Otherwise, you're essentially like people who are giving it for show, ri'ah, okay? And it's the equivalent of someone who doesn't believe. وَلَا يُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. It's the equivalent of someone who doesn't believe in Allah on the last day. What's ri'ah? Ri'ah is showing off. Okay? And it's essentially one of the most subtle forms of shirk. Okay? Like the analogy here is, the analogy of ri'ah is that it's nighttime, and you have a smooth rock, and you have a black ant walking on that rock. That's how subtle it is. Okay? Actually, the Prophet I think he said it in reverse order. You have an ant walking on a smooth black rock in the middle of the night. That's how subtle showing off is.
So like any measure of showing off. I guess it's hard to sometimes differentiate, like it's thin line.
Uh-huh. So what are we saying here? That like when you're speaking, when you're presenting yourself, your goal is to be straightforward. Right? Which I think in our culture, which is a media culture, it's a facade culture, you're conditioned day after day to give a presentation
Yeah.
that may or may not reflect reality. Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say is like, I mean, I don't think there's an element of that in everything we do.
I'm saying it's, whether or not there's an element of that in everything we do, I think it's hard for there not to be that.
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's because it's shirk, because it's shirk, yet it's so subtle. That's kind of why we have to be on guard about it so much, because you could be saying something, you know, you could be thinking to yourself you're doing it for the right reasons, and at the end of the day you might be doing it for the wrong reasons, and so you kind of have to keep checking yourself constantly about it, I guess.
So why would showing off be shirk? I mean, that's the worst, like indictment, the worst sort of short for vocabulary these days.
Sin.
Meaning, so like the worst sin, you know.
You're either making the other people your god, or you're making yourself your god.
Right. That's I made the point before that you can't use analogies for shirk. You can't say this sounds like shirk, therefore it's shirk. This is shirk. The Prophet categorically calls this shirk. And it's saying whatever it is you're doing in that moment, okay, even small, even if it's like a seed, you're doing it for either to please Allah Ta'ala, okay, or you're doing it to impress them, or you're doing it to inflate yourself. And if you're doing it not to please Allah Ta'ala,
Wow.
then you're doing it
No doubt in that.
to either impress them or elevate your status, which are two sides of the same coin. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, is calling that shirk. And that is absolutely terrifying. So then what should I do if in a moment I'm about to give someone some charity? Okay? I have no intention of reminding them about it. I have no intention of hurting them because I'm giving them charity. But I'm concerned I might be showing off, even in the slightest. What should I do? Now, sorry?
Istighfar.
Should I still give it?
Yes. You make the istighfar.
So I should say astaghfirullah and still give it. Right. The risk is that if I don't give it, then it might be false just as much. Yes?
Right, isn't that certainly, so how do you get around, like, you know how you're at a fundraising dinner and somebody says, oh, so-and-so pledges 1,000, mashallah, you know,
Yeah.
isn't that kind of the same thing? I mean,
Well, I
it's like,
think
so then really everybody should be anonymous.
so think of two sides of it. That okay, so the absolute best charity will probably see the eye as, you know, the thing we've all heard, and you have it in Christianity, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's giving, right? But if by your giving, okay, you might inspire other people, right, then I'm saying it's not showing off, right? But just keep saying astaghfirullah. Okay? Just keep saying astaghfirullah about giving it during, before, after, etc., etc. Right? And what are you essentially saying with the astaghfirullah? Oh Allah, please keep my intentions clean. Right? But yeah, that's in our fundraising style that we have. You know, okay, who's going to give $10,000? Right? Okay, fine. And I think I might have mentioned. See, I was even like getting concerned about this when I was giving my example, but at this one fundraiser, I gave a donation, and then the fundraising guy said, "Oh, mashallah, Mozaffar has given blah blah blah, but he announced more than I actually pledged." I was like, dude, that's not how I'm giving. Anyway. So yeah, just keep saying stuff for a little about all these things.
But can't you remain anonymous? Did you ask?
There was a reason why I put my name on it. I don't remember what it was, and I think I might have even written, "Please keep anonymous" or something.
That was the fine print he didn't read.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not unprecedented even from the tradition, right? To give
Yeah.
to give it openly.
Mhm.
It is just so that's actually, and there may be times when you're moved to think, in other words, you may think to yourself, well, if that guy can give that much, I have more. Allah has blessed me with more than he has.
Yeah.
Inshallah, maybe I can give more. Maybe there might be something to that side of it, that you're in your mood to do something. So
I think that is one of the ways where the competition of giving is blessed.
Yeah.
And it's not showing off.
You
Like
still
the,
love me.
between Abu Bakr and Omar. Like,
This one fundraiser, I was not at this, but it was narrated to me, and I'm sure I probably mentioned it before, but fundraisers taking place, usual fundraiser for a masjid, and for the first however long, no one's giving anything except for small amounts. And this one person who in the community has a lot of wealth, and mashallah for him, he's getting kind of irritated, so he says, all right, he gets up, he says, I'm giving $100,000. And literally within the next 30 seconds, or not 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 8 more people each gave $100,000.
wow.
Right.
Wow.
So alhamdulillah.
Let's go to a fundraiser there.
Let's go now.
Let's go.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Wow.
So the point is, as I'm sharing this, don't make this a way for us to disempower ourselves, right? Almost look at the concern about showing off as something advanced. I mean, this is coming near the end of Al-Baqarah, right? It'd be vastly different if this was at the beginning of Al-Baqarah, right? That if your concern is about showing off, and then thus you're concerned about shirk, and thus it's not going to be forgiven. If I'm someone like that, but I'm not making my prayers, if I'm someone like that, I'm not fulfilling my other obligations, then I'd say this is something to worry about down the line. This is the perfection of faith. Right.
Oh, can I ask something?
Yeah.
So in
This
these
doesn't apply to anybody. Yeah.
in these verses, and when it says giving, I mean the focus is on the person, the giver, right? Now, is there anything said by what is done with the money? Like, does that come later, or is that mentioned at all, or is that something that the Quran isn't that concerned with?
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
So if I receive, then
It says, give, infiqu, give, and it is sadaqat, right?
yeah.
But what about on the other end? What sort of guidance or guidelines are there for, people who receive, whether it's if you're the poor, or if you're using it for the community or whatever?
Yeah, let me think about that. I mean, there's an ayah in Surah Tawbah about who and what can receive, and but I don't even remember if it says beyond like people who are distributing zakat can also receive, but what to do with wealth.
What is the
let me think about that,
principle?
it's a good question, Okay. But yeah, do not invalidate your charities with reminders, with injury, and to have the behavior of like someone who is only giving their wealth to be seen, to show off, and does not believe in Allah on the last day. That's very, very harsh language, or not harsh, but very warning-ish language. So his example is like that of a smooth stone, and dust is on it, and rain falls upon it, and it washes it all away. They are unable to keep anything of what they have earned. Allah does not guide the kafirs. So what's the central caution in this ayah? Control your tongue. And this is the theme throughout the entire surah. That every attribute you see of hypocrites, something is mentioned about their tongue. Right? When they say believe as people believe, they say, so we believe as the fools believe. Or they lie. Or when they're with the believers, they say we're with you, but when they're with their shaitans, they're actually with you. Right? And so a recurring theme from start to finish in the surah is the way my tongue can ruin me. So that's the theme here, that with my hands I'm giving to people, and with my tongue, that takes less effort. I can wipe it all away. And thus it can be like a smooth stone. And with my charity, I'm putting soil on this stone. And with my tongue, it's a downpour that's washing it all away. And what's the end result? You have a smooth stone, which is nice and shiny. You're right. It's something attractive. But there's no life that can come from it. So this language, La yaqdiruna ala shay'in mimma kasabu. They cannot keep anything that they have earned. That's the power of my tongue. I can do all the greatest works, and my tongue can wipe it all away. So I'm earning all these things, that are piling up for me, inshallah, on the day of judgment, yet because my tongue is loose, I can't keep any of it. So on the flip side, Ayah 265, وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُوا أَمْوَالَهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. So the likeness of those who are doing infaq, we define infaq as you're giving to the point of exhaustion, infaq of your wealth, ibtigha. So ibtigha is like jealously wanting something, really, really deeply desiring. So baghya is essentially to really want something. Ibtigha is to really want it. Good. So you're giving of your wealth for the pleasure of Allah. Like you really, really want this. I don't know the word in English, except like the old meaning of jealousy. So the contemporary meaning of jealousy is like envy. The old meaning of jealousy, like, an attorney has to jealously represent their client. Like, you guys still use that language, lawyer?
Zealously.
Zealous might be good.
Zealous or jealously is also another. They use jealous.
So you use jealous that way? Like, you guys use jealous in your field? That way?
Zealous.
Covet,
Jealous
like
comes from
covet
a
more,
zealot.
is what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
So covet I still see as a,
Is it negative?
yeah. I mean, covet is kind of like you're looking at what someone else has, right? And the old idea of jealousy is that you're holding tight to them passionately, right? So the lawyer is jealously representing their client. So zealously might be how we use it today, right? That you're doing everything for your client, right? And so ibtigha is something along that line. You're giving your all for the pleasure of Allah in your giving. Good. So obviously here we're saying that's the best intention. Good. What is it saying? You have a garden. Good. And the garden is on high ground, so it's not like the flooding comes down, it's going to wipe it out. Good. And then rain falls, and then not only does it bear fruit, it bears double fruit. Good. And even if it's hit by just a small sprinkle, it's bearing forth fruit. And Allah sees what you do, meaning you're doing all this, and Allah Ta'ala is the one who will be rewarding. Right, that last point, let me come back to that in a moment. So what do we have here? Either with my wealth, I'm giving it to people, but I'm giving it the wrong way. Or in this ayah, I'm doing it, and my goal, my really deep down goal is to win the pleasure of Allah. Which means I have to even develop an appreciation for that first, right? To really want to make Allah Ta'ala happy. Which I think itself is a level to get to. As opposed to, I don't want to go to hell, I want to get good rewards and everything. In an apathetic way. So the point is that I want to develop this sense of passion for the pleasure of Allah. Like the word we commonly use in both Urdu and Arabic and Farsi is ishq. Like how do we translate ishq? To be an ashik.
Deep love.
Yeah, I mean, passion, to adore. So you have hub in Arabic, which is to love. Ishq is to passionately love.
Almost like a split, like from shaqaq, right? Like where you would.
There might be a relation, I don't know, but
maybe not.
because ishq is with an ayin, but still, the Arabic words always have some sort of relationship like that. But I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not aware of it. But it's. I mean, think of anything in your life that you absolutely passionately love. Usually for us, it's our children, right? I'm not saying that the wrong way, but the point is that the goal is to love everything. And so whatever it is that you love most, that's the level you want to get to with your love for pleasing Allah. And that's the intention I should have when I'm giving of my wealth. So there's a couple things here. Keep my intention straight, but really I want to develop this personality of this passionate love for things, and primarily this passionate love for Allah Ta'ala. And the result will be that whatever I do is going to spring forth double benefit. So you see what I'm saying? We're at the one level we're talking about how to give, but at the deeper level we're talking about how to live. I think part of the reason I'm making this point is that what I see, especially among the young folk, we're talking about college students or younger, is this culture of apathy. Like, Who cares? Why should I care? And what I'm speaking about is to have a really passionate view towards life, a zealous view towards life. And then at the top of that is a real passionate love for Allah Ta'ala. I think we're being created more and more to be zombies and apathetic and everything.
What's your advice on how to develop love of Allah?
I think, I think a way that a lot of times young people lose it is the amount of comfort that we give them, right? As parents, because we care about our kids, we want to make sure they're not hit with any struggle. But it's when you're hit with struggle that you appreciate things, right? When I'm given everything, then it's easy for me to become like Bani Israel, where I just get, this is just my world. I have every luxury. And so I think part of the goal is to figure out ways to give our kids struggle, if at the very least guiding them to really have to earn their space, earn their keep. Of course, these young people would, they're already planning, how to respond. All those things. Yeah. But I think just our modern technology environment where everything is at our fingertips makes it easy to become apathetic about everything. So for example, if I was a kid and I really wanted an iPhone, I would just say, no, you can't have it. No, and so the basic point being that I think we have to figure out how to make our kids struggle, which goes completely against what we as parents want for our children. We want for our child to have every single comfort.
That makes you develop love of Allah?
Sorry?
That makes you develop love of Allah?
I'm saying that makes you develop a love for life. Meaning I'm saying that is to counter the apathy.
Okay.
Because if I have apathy, then I think it's very hard to develop love for anything, except for my own appetite. And then as you're developing a love for life, then it becomes easier to develop gratitude.
I think that's the key. We just said gratitude. It's the most important. If there isn't a drive to recognize reason for gratitude, then it's just apathy.
Among my college students, the ones that were not my academic students but are college age, I do notice a fundamental difference between those who have to literally pay their whole way through on their own. Whether or not their parents can afford it is one thing, but like for example, I'm thinking of one student right now who he has to pay all of his tuition, which means he has to work, he has to pay for his car, his gas, everything. Like his parents are just making him do it all. And in him, maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't think it's a coincidence, I see much more of a seriousness in him. He jokes around like all of his friends do, but I do notice much more seriousness in him, and I also notice a lot more wisdom in him too. And I think the two are related. I don't know if something like that can be done as easily for a high schooler, except to, make the high schooler get a job or something like that.
Pay for perks, like phones and stuff.
So like my daughters have so many gift cards. They literally have a stack of gift cards this thick. It's not even an exaggeration. And so even if they want something, I can't say how are you going to pay for it. Because they have gift cards for every single store, especially Target. They probably have $1,000 of Target gift cards. Right?
Make them buy toiletries and stuff.
Yeah,
why not? Right?
For Jannah, my 14-year-old, Target is almost like her paradise on earth. Right? She loves Target. Right? Every time they arrive, okay, first thing I do is go to Target. Just walk around so she can bask in the Targetness. But so the point is, for them, even I'm trying to figure out ways to make it so that they can, feel like they have to earn something.
The question is, do you keep the cards or do they keep the cards?
Yeah, that's they're way ahead of me on all those things, and so they figured out how to transfer the card wealth and
So an online account or something like that.
what these guys do, right? Even so we went to Black Friday. We waited in line, and part of the reason I waited in line because I knew they're going to hate it, and we're at Target before Thanksgiving, and we go inside the store. Jenna winds up not buying anything. Before we left, my mom, their daddy, gave me her credit card, and as grandparents do, Beta, you can get whatever you want. Whatever Baba says, don't listen to him. Right? So
Totally take away any footage of parenting.
and I have to give my mom my
You should have just bought stuff you wanted. Just,
Yeah. my standard inappropriate
Okay,
dirty
PlayStation.
Like, dude, I'm trying to be a dad here. And they're like, you got everything. I'm like, no, I didn't. Yeah. So Layla wants this Taylor Swift CD. Yeah. So I said, well, let's look at how much it's going to be at Amazon. Okay. It's $6.99. Okay. Here it's $17.99.
It just,
Right?
What is it?
Taylor Swift. Right?
it is. You said
Hey,
that
Layla does
so.
not own a CD player.
You said that so angrily. Taylor Swift.
That's what I was
Not
feeling,
like
I still feel.
Coldplay.
And I'm giving you the whole story for the Layla's moment of dominance. And so I show her, okay, Amazon is $6.99. Here it's $17.99. But this one has, 6 additional files that I don't know if they were outtakes or something, like the deleted scenes you have in a DVD. I'm like, this is not worth $12, right? And then I said, how are you going to pay for it? And what does she say? From Daddy.
Oh,
Big
big smile. I got you. Yeah. Wow.
I'm like, yeah, go ahead, get it. Right. Of course, her older sister gave her a whole lot of grief about it, and then we went home, told Dottie, and Dottie's like, well, why'd you pay $18 for $7? And I said, because you gave her a credit card, Dottie. Dottie also had a big grin. But all in all, the point I'm making is that the goal is to figure out how, on the one hand, to fulfill our parental need to give every single cushion to our child, and on the other hand, to actually teach them how to struggle. And I don't know of other ways to do it.
I think you have to convince the kids somehow that struggling is good. Unless you convince them, you won't be able
But I think every one of us knows that.
No,
But
but the children need to know.
what do you guys think, young people?
The struggle is real.
That's the mantra that they tell each other all day long in junior high. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. We were watching this one movie in one of my academic classes, and the girl in the movie goes, "The struggle is real," and everyone's like, "Yeah." Yeah. What do you think, college student? What do you think? Do you have an appreciation of the benefit of struggle? Not like at an intellectual level, but like.
I mean, when I think about it, the things that come to mind aren't things that my parents did, but like circumstances that I was put in.
Yeah.
Like, the first thing that you said is like, when you said that is that I have a strong appreciation for my friends that I didn't develop until after a friend passed away.
Mm.
So I feel like those are the kinds of things that put that in. I don't know.
Circumstantial.
Where's his
like-
voice? Yeah.
I feel like it's
Hey, we're all your
circumstantial.
cool friends. Your cool friends are here today. But
I
anyway,
know they all, yeah.
they're
But
struggling.
I don't know. I think it's circumstantial. I think it's just stuff that happens to you. So even if your parents are trying really hard to instill like some sort of struggle, in you or whatever, I think it's very circumstantial. Like I think especially I remember my senior year, a lot of young people passed away, and I feel
Yeah.
like that probably made the biggest
Pretty
difference in my
smart,
life.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I know, the money thing I know you're saying is because, I know a lot of white people at my school that, they'll work, they have to work, and, I've never really met a Desi person that has had to do that because I feel like we're so sheltered. But I see something different in them. I feel like they value school a lot more than we do. So I see that in them. So I guess it's kind of both aspects.
I think being sheltered is a huge part of that.
Uh-huh. Why do you think your parents are sheltering you guys? Or why do you think
I think it's just
Desi
part
parents
of the
shelter
culture.
them?
I think it's just part of the culture. I feel like I would raise my kids in a similar way that my parents did.
Is that so? Yeah, I mean, what I find fascinating about the Zayd Ali videos. On the one hand, the parents are really mean and tough. But on the other hand, he also has those videos where the parents just smother the child with all kinds of love. Like I was watching one today because I tend to watch them every single day. It was like white ants versus Desi ants. So white ant, oh, how are you doing, Johnny? Oh, how's life? Blah blah blah. Okay, bye. And then Desi ant, little kid comes by. Mom grabs and starts tickling and kissing and everything. You're like my little samosa. You're like my little pakoda. Right? So I think, yeah, that is something in our culture, that a way we express love might translate as sheltering, but we're just oozing love all over them, right? But yeah, the goal is to get them to appreciate how serious and beneficial struggle is. Right?
Even the people who have really been known to big figures of our deen,
Yeah.
Hazrat Ibrahim came from a very rich family, his father was wealthy, and it's only after he
Gets kicked out.
moved away and went through all the struggles that he became who he was.
Sure, sure.
So Salman al-Farsi, again, came from a very rich family, and there's Sahaba who also, and there's so many stories of these people. Buddha.
Yeah. His father
Buddha.
tried to shelter him. Perfect example.
Buddha was
Yeah.
a prince, right?
Just only the,
He was like a prince.
Yeah.
And had he been with, prince, he would never have been where he became.
Yeah.
So, struggle is really an essential component. So I go to the point of saying, if you see yourself in life not struggling,
something's wrong.
you better worry.
Something's
You
gonna
worry
shoot.
for your future, because if you're living a cushy life and you continue to live a cushy life, your goals will be very difficult to achieve. You might have those lofty goals, but it's going to be hard for you to get to those goals.
This reminds one of the points that I make to some people in terms of imagining Islam. Usually when we imagine Islam, it's I have to do all these things, right? I have to do these things and I can't do those things. And that's not incorrect. But if you imagine Islam as this is a path that will guide me in how to deal with all the struggles of life, I think that's in some ways even more accurate. Right? That I have to pray because I have to pray, but by virtue of praying, I'm also developing things within myself that will make it far easier for me to adjust through all the struggles of life. But I think I made the point in these classes that you can have someone who completely rejects religion, someone who's a complete atheist, and they can have the same level of manners as a believer, a good believer does, right? The same level of politeness, even the same amount of donations that a believer has. But I have never yet met an atheist who can deal with struggle very well, especially the big struggles like you lose a loved one. That religion helps you get through the difficulties of life. Yes, sir?
I know that a lot of people, especially until they're like older, like above college, they're always.
Can you even imagine what that's like the other side of a black hole, isn't it?
It's still the other side of my goal.
For you.
So they're always saying, man, when I reach kids, I'm gonna let them have everything, Like I hear this a lot. Even,
From your peers?
Even with like old people that are much older. And
Like you know,
16.
like yeah.
ironically, this person was atheist, but still other people too. And I was thinking maybe that has to do with something who's white. So.
What's your conclusion?
You were saying
You had me
All
until
white
you
people
concluded.
are atheists.
You were saying it was this people that.
Oh, just like, overflow.
I don't know
Yeah.
who says.
But I think that it's just easier for the parent
Something
to see.
what he was saying was that when I grow up, I'm not going to shelter my kids. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
The
You
person
two
he
are
was
talking the same
talking
person,
about.
okay.
So I maybe forget.
I'm just lost into what
Yeah.
we're talking about generation gaps.
No, yeah. So like parents, parents that they might feel it's easier for them emotionally to shelter their kids.
Yeah, I think so.
then when the kids go through struggle, it's hard for them.
I think that's definitely true. I think it's definitely true, especially for a lot of moms. That all right, if my child is even slightly struggling, the parent has to just give everything. I think by design, as parents, we're ready to bend over backwards and do anything we can to give everything for a child. You guys see that, Mike?
I think part of it is just parents struggle. I think we oftentimes think that our parents are sheltering us the way they were sheltered. Oftentimes it's that they went through a lot of struggle and they don't want us to go through the
Yeah.
same
struggle that they went through.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just, something is just an instinct that, you know, and maybe it's to the next generation's detriment.
Uh-huh.